Hey everyone, Greg Meskel here with you, more at home with USA Water Polo. Appreciate you joining us here on a Thursday morning, afternoon, wherever you might be. And we have a great guest with us here today as we finish out our week of live chats. Director of Coach Education for the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, Chris Snyder. Chris, thanks for being here with us.
Greg, excited to be on with you on a Thursday. So great way to end the week talking to some real people, some real athletes and coaches. So it's way better than being locked down in a basement office.
I hear that. And if you're joining us on our Facebook page and you want to throw a question or comment for Chris in the comments, I'll keep an eye on those. We'll try and relay those over to him. And Chris, we're going to get into some topics as far as the athlete experience goes. But when we got to the schedule, and I thought of you and everything you do, this has changed all of our worlds. But you're an expert in coaching. This has probably been unlike any of the last 6 or 7 months you've ever had in your life. What's been the change for you in kind of coach education when a lot of coaches cannot coach the way they normally coach?
Yeah, Greg. And, our department at the Olympic and Paralympic Committee, we work across all 50 of the national governing bodies. So every time there's a Team USA and then enter your sport here, we'll get to try to help their coaches professionally develop and be the best they could be. We'll then try to influence the pipeline that all of our general coaches. And at the end of the day, we're athlete people. We're all trying to help the coaches put the athletes in a position to be successful. What's crazy is it's a people business. We're hands-on together, athlete and coach, trying to achieve common goals. Well, we've now said, okay, we can't be hands-on and we can't be around each other. And even if we are, you may not even be able to see my lips. I've got a mask, we're trying to figure things out, and God forbid somebody sneezes. I mean, it's thrown a lot of crazy barriers in front of both the athlete, the coach, and our leadership. We're trying to figure out ways to, not put us in a bad situation, but allow us to keep training where we can. So it's been a big adjustment, but what's been great has been we've really bonded a battle nationally with people being creative and saying, hey, here's a way you can do this. Here's a way to get back to training. Here's a way to be smart about this. And people have been sharing that. The loud negatives that have been out there, they were loud in the first few months. But what we've quickly gotten onto, especially with the high performance people we get to work with, is they're saying, wait, I figured out a great idea. You should try this. It works. It keeps you safe and you can still get better. And now we've seen that trickle down to the coaches not overcoaching. We've seen that in the first kind of couple of months where every single coach quickly got a Zoom account. And whether you were 9 or 19, we were being asked to be tied to this screen while we're talking about swimming in a pool or talking about competing. And it didn't connect well. Now those coaches are getting on and hopefully working with their athletes saying, hey, here's 3 things that are probably going to work. Go give it a try and let's talk later. So we've gone from overcoaching to being purposeful in what we're doing. So sharing those best practices has been great as we've gotten into and past a lot of this craziness. And yeah, like sharing best practices, I think keeps everybody in that positive mindset. So happy to share some of those things with everybody as we talk more.
Yeah, I think it was an adjustment for so many people early on. Like you said, everyone gets on Zoom. They know they want to stay connected, but they're having to do it in a way they've never had to do it before. And then when you think about the athletes and coaches you work with, you can't find a more driven group of people, right? They so badly want to succeed. They were on target in some cases for an Olympic Games. That gets postponed. I feel like if anything's come out of this, though, to what you just hit on, there's been a more purposeful communication, actual talking amongst coach, athlete, 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 coach to coach. What have you seen in that realm that maybe people didn't know they could get better at because they were dealing so heavily with the physical performance?
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, what we've been able to do is kind of broaden our mindsets here. We all get so laser focused. I mean, when you identify as a water polo coach or a water polo athlete, this is my thing. I'm getting to the pool and that's what I'm doing. And at times you forget about being well-rounded in your training. You forget about what do I actually strategically need to do? Not what my coach is telling me to do, but strategically, I might randomly be in situations. How would I react? What if I end up, really having to step up on defense? Or what if the team needs me to go score a goal or two? Then you think about out of the water in life. How do I make sure that I'm staying healthy? How do I make sure that I'm being a positive person, not contributing? We're able to go and think big picture now because people have had to reflect on their lives a bit. And that's been a great thing when we ask our athletes and coaches to talk about being purposeful in their training. And I'm going to share my screen with you for a second. Hopefully you see it okay. But so in the Can you see the image right here? Okay. So this is the finish line in the Winter Pyeongchang Olympics. Okay. I'm using some winter examples here to get you out of the pool mindset and get you into the worldly mindset, right? This is the finish of the women's team relay in cross country skiing. This is the difference between a gold medal and second place. And this was the difference in Team USA winning our first ever women's relay gold medal and finishing second. And what we started talking to coaches about is when the margin for victory, not only in sport, but in life, is so small. Like it is, it's so small nowadays. What matters when it comes to your training? Well, the answer is everything matters. Like you've got to think worldly. So much stuff matters. It's not just about skiing. It's about being able to figure out your race conditions, about being able to figure out your nutrition, figure out your mental mindset. Those things matter. So at the end of the day, when it comes back to what we've all been able to do is take a step back from being so laser focused on the way we've always done things and be able to challenge our athletes and ourselves as coaches and say, yo, let's get big picture. What are the other things we could work on when we're not in the pool that are going to help us not just be better athletes, but be better people in life? And that's kind of the cool thing when you can start thinking big picture and saying, okay, what are my personal gaps? Where can I get better? And I can't be in a pool. So is it my mind? Is it my body? Is it my soul? Is it my relationships with others? Is it how I react to adversity? And really the big thing is we've been driving agility. Coaches and athletes that can be agile under these kind of new crazy situations and can get their mindset to, I can handle this, I can do this. Those are the ones that are able to not only rise up in our sports worlds, but in life. I mean, those are people that we want to be around. So, I mean, that's my encouragement to the athletes and coaches based off what we've seen working with so many is like, you got to get on this positive mindset when everything matters. You got to find those areas you can work on and you got to go after them and be positive about it. So
I love that photo that you shared. I know it's a departure from water polo, but water polo fans, you can relate to that image because if there's something else that requires great leg strength outside of water polo, it is cross-country skiing. And if you want to get amped up, get on YouTube, watch that finish. Jesse Diggins, Keegan Randall from Pyeongchang. It will surely get you excited to start off your Thursday or whatever your workout is that's coming up. One of the things that you've talked about, and you kind of hit on here, this ability to grow, right? When you feel like you're stuck in a spot where you can't grow. You're stuck in your house. You can't train the way you used to. You can't be around your teammates. Just kind of tell us more about building off of that and being able to make progress when it feels like you're in a area that you're stuck in the mud, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, that's the toughest thing is you get in these, all of us have gone through this with the COVID, shutdowns. You start getting in little ruts, like you can't train like you used to. Things aren't going your way. And at the end of the day, what I try to tell athletes, same as we tell coaches, this is a lifelong journey, for every one of us. The worst thing a coach can do is coach the same way every year, year after year, and do it 20 times the same way. What we want our coaches to do is coach for 20 years and have this process that they get better every year and grow and add tools. For athletes, I want you every year to get better, get better, get better, not do the same thing you've always done every single year you're allowed to play at that competitive level. So the idea of growth is out there. What we found though is it starts up here. It starts with the mind, then it goes to the body, and then it becomes part of your soul. So that agility is something that we've started with saying, okay, you've got to control your mind and get to positive self-talk. And if you're out there and you're an athlete, you don't practice this, don't know much about it, just Google, positive self-talk, ways to do it. And you're going to find a gazillion cool videos, some cheesy ones, that tell you you can't rip yourself down. The world will do that. There's so many of us, doesn't matter what country you're in, we naturally will rip others down because we want to get ahead. You've got to be your own cheerleader, coach or athlete. You've got to get on offense. And you have to have a realistic mindset of, I'm going to go after this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to share my screen again. I saw this today on Twitter, so I had to pull it up and work it in. I'm doing it right here. So this is Odell Beckham Jr. If you're not a fan of pro football, don't worry. Like the Browns, not many people are fans of them, except if you're from Ohio. But he made this comment the other day about COVID. It's like, and he says, like, I don't think COVID can get to me. I don't think it's going to enter my body. I don't want no part of it. It don't want no part of me. It's a mutual respect. That's not the mindset I'm talking about. That's actually, Odell, I'm sorry, that just comes off stupid. Like, dude, like you can sit there and be super arrogant, but you're not being real. That's not positive self-talk. If anything, you're just showing your arrogance about it. The kind of self-positive talk we want is the fact that COVID's a thing. Sweet. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I'm going to be healthy. If I would get sick, I'm going to do everything in my power to not get others sick and get healthy and be positive. So you need to own your mind. And then I saw this right after it. Like, this is my Twitter feed this morning. I saw this, and then I went ahead and saw this with Rafa Nadal. Okay. It's long. There's a ton of words on here, but I'll summarize for you. Basically, Nadal talks about the repetition in practice and how he goes out day after day and gets excited to practice the same shots, and that he hasn't mastered them even after all the, I think it's 23 Grand Slam titles he has, right? That he's still getting better because every single minute, every single ball he hits in practice, they're unique, they're different. They have different spin. They're from a different bounce height. He has to adjust. And he doesn't take for granted the fact that it's repetition. It's the same thing over and over again. He gets excited because he knows he's got to constantly be on the top of his game to handle anything that comes his way. That's positive self-talk, is saying, I don't care about the same old, same old. I'm going to own it. I'm going to get better. And I'm going to find a way to mentally be focused in of how to kick butt and take names. And that's the positive self-talk that I really would love all of our athletes and our coaches to take away during this COVID time, is you got to be mentally agile, and you got to get onto the I can, not I can. And a lot of that comes from, it's a concept called of having a fixed mindset, right? We can't have a fixed mindset that says, just because I didn't make the varsity team means I never will. Or just because I didn't grow to 6'6", I'll never be successful. You've got to have that can-do mindset where you're going out and saying, no, I may not have that, but I'm going to get after it and teach myself new skills. I'm going to go ahead and find ways that I can be successful, and I'm going to motivate myself internally to go after it. So that mental agility to be positive and find the can-do mindset is the things that I'm seeing is helping people, coach, athlete, leader, thrive in these crazy environments and grow as human beings. So that's where I would say, Greg, is step one. If you own the mind, you're going to have a shot at owning everything else.
Well, I think it's hard, though, especially maybe for younger athletes as they're coming up, to kind of understand that line between what you're talking about, the positive self-talk, and then being wary of coming off too overconfident or arrogant, especially in a team environment. How can teammates foster that appropriate positive self-talk amongst each other so that no one feels alienated for taking care of themselves?
Yeah, and this is the other thing that I've seen across our sports. And, one thing that's been great. So Coach Adam Krikorian, right when the COVID stuff hit, we've been on different phone calls across different sports. And Adam was saying, hey, I took the first week and just talked to my players as individuals. It made them know, one, we care about them. Two, make sure they're in a good, just safe mindset. And then three, we'll get back together as a team later. But he told them, reach out to your teammates, be a human right now, and let's connect. Well, he's always encouraged his team to be a team and unify. And that's the thing that I would say. You've got to bond to battle with those around you. You have to build your network of positive people that are going to pump you up, and you need to be a part of others' positive networks. And what I mean, if I was 14 years old again, an athlete back in central Pennsylvania where I grew up, what I would do different is I would grab those positive people in my life and I would start to organize my network. I'd say, who do I go to when I'm feeling super bummed about, how I'm feeling right now? Who do I go to when I need that pick me up in school? Who do I know that's willing to spend some time tutoring me on some of these things? Who's my teammate that I know is going to help me in practice with my technical side or my tactical side? Who's the coach that I trust telling, coach, I don't understand what the hell we're doing. Like, don't hold me accountable or don't cut me, but teach me. Who do I feel okay saying that to? And then start to write them down and wrap your life with those people and go to them. Please do not make your current girlfriend, boyfriend, or significant other that emotional, ploy for life. They may turn over if you're young. Okay. Find people that are going to be rock solid. You're going to have them for life no matter what. So finding that parent, that extended family member, finding that neighbor, finding that, athlete that's on your team that you connect with and saying, I'm going to make you my rock in this situation, and then call them out when you need them. We need our families, our networks as athletes and coaches to bond to battle in these situations. And I think that's what gives you a solid soul. So if I could go back, the thing that I think is going to help those teams when you're competing against each other is to flip it on its head. No, we're competing together to advance. And if we can help one another do that, not just in this COVID time, but after this, if we can learn that it's a we, not a me, everyone's going to grow. So I'd say get your network, tell people they're in your network, and then take advantage of your network. That's what's going to help that positive self-talk become positive team practices. And you guys will rise, not just on, in the water, but in life as well.
Well, and you hit on a lesson that I think it takes a lot of people large parts of their life to learn, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people. You are who you surround yourself with, building a positive network. That's a challenge at 15. It's a challenge for some at 30 or 50 years old too.
Yeah, no. And I mean, Greg, think about how many times a day, a week that we probably screw up in our everyday lives that we don't tell people. And then think about the couple of times a week we do tell people, right? None of us are perfect. The big key there is just admitting the fact we're not going to be perfect. Growth is something we all need to do. But God, life is so much better when you can grab onto other people for those pick-me-ups when you're down. And we see that like there's a big push on athlete mental health and on coach well-being right now. And we're seeing that coming out of COVID, that everybody's, super concerned, and they should be, about how we're all doing up here. Well, the thing with mental health is the fact that you, step one, need to realize, one, you're not alone, and two, dude, people love you and care about you. And I know, just having been around the water polo family and community in different talks, being around the national team coaches, even some of your regional coaches and programming you all have, like, water polo is a we sport. When you actually play that sport, you're in an airport and somebody else has got some swag on. Like, you all actually talk to each other. Like, it doesn't matter if you're, at Wilson High School in Pennsylvania talking to somebody from, out in San Diego, you got water polo swag on, you all like start talking in the airport. It's annoying to the rest of us that don't have that connection in our sports. So you are a we family. The key is leaning on that family, which will keep you mentally strong, and know that others give a crap about you, that people want to see you be successful. But the key is you also have to be willing to be part of others' networks. So come out of your shell to help others. Others are going to come out of your shell to help you. And that's what, you can screw up a ton. Own it, and others are going to help you move on if you're willing to commit to it. And you guys have that network with your sport. So yeah, sea to shining sea for sure.
That is one of the beautiful things about water polo. The community is very, very tight knit and close. And you hit on the mind part of it. Then the next part, body. So how does getting your mind right kind of tie into the body part?
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest things we've really tried to work, going back to that big picture where everything matters. My challenge to our athletes that are out there is, have you done a self-analysis, a SWOT analysis? Us business nerds at times throw this around. They want to identify, what are your strengths? What's the weakness? What are your opportunities? And what are the threats? I coach high school now. I coached college for a while in the sport of lacrosse. Every year I start by asking my athletes to do an analysis. What right now physically are you strong at? Is it your speed? Is it your agility? Right? Is it your strength? What are you strong at technically, tactically? Okay. And then mentally, what are you really good at? Write it down. Awesome. Now write down your weakness. What do you suck at? Under pressure, what do you fall backwards on? And then what do you rise on? If you rise on it, that's a strength. If you fall back when you're under pressure and afraid of making a mistake, like, what is a weakness there? Okay, write that down. And then your opportunity is, can I work on any one of those weaknesses? What can I do in my house, away from the pool, private training, with COVID involved? Like, what can I do right now to impact those weaknesses? And you'll find you can probably do a ton. You can go out in the backyard, you can find others that you can work with. You can go out for extra runs if it's your conditioning. You can start to work on explosive power. You can Google. You guys have the best gift we never had. We didn't have the ability to go online and within seconds get tons of feedback on YouTube of how I could get better in these areas. When we had AOL, it took legitimately like 20 minutes to literally get a picture to pop up, and you could talk to like 20 people and none of them were your friends. Like, you guys have the ability to literally Google search anything. So physically, you got to do that analysis. What am I good at? What am I weak? What can I get better at right now? And then what's holding me back? The thing with threats, what's in my way? It's easy to say, I can't get into the gym. Here's the thing. Our threats are normally excuses. Good. You can't get in a gym to get weights? Awesome. Full body workouts. Surfers are freaking ripped. You water polo guys and girls are ripped because you're constantly using body weight and using water against you. My God, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, inverted things. You can get stronger in your house, anywhere, in a hotel room. Don't let, because I can't have this, I can't get better here. Again, going back to that mindset. So the body side, Greg, we say, do your SWOT right now. What am I good at? Where do I need to get better? And be honest with yourself. Don't be Odell and say, COVID can't touch me. Be Nadal saying, I've got to get better, because every day is a chance to get better. And that'll help your body be agile, because you're not making excuses.
One of the things about water polo that a lot of players will tell you is that when they've been out of it for a little while, it is one of the toughest sports to get back to where they were physically. And it's the legs, it's the swimming. It's just a thing. It's why the national team trains 7 hours a day to be able to compete with the very best. What are you telling athletes from a body sense when they feel like, okay, I'm gonna do these other things, but it's not my sport specific thing, and I feel like physically I'm not where I'm supposed to be on my mental timeline for when I have to compete next?
What's crazy is a lot of times though, Greg, our body gets accustomed to that same way of training. So you get used to feeling after doing those sport specific water polo workouts, right? What's interesting is when all of a sudden you adjust to something else, it's a different feeling. You're adding variety. Okay. And I have a good friend that says variety is the spice of life, right? You got to have a lot of different seasonings to make the salad that you need for life. So by adding in that variety, you'll normally find two things. One, you're going to challenge yourself mentally and physically. Your body is going to be pushed to do something it's not used to. Two, a lot of times it's going to allow your body to rest and recover from what you've been pounding on 24/7, day after day, that same way. And now challenge it in a different way, but you're going to allow that standard way to rest and recover. And three, it's going to refresh your mind. If you're accepting that this is a different workout, let me go ahead and go after it. Let's see how I feel afterwards. Was it super challenging? Was it not? Okay, where did I get better? So that's the mental side. If you only allow yourself to get good at one thing, when the day comes that you've got to adjust, you've got to be different, that's where the challenge comes in. So what I say to a lot of the athletes is, don't push off these new ideas as it's not the way I'm used to doing things. The agile mind, the agile body, and the agile soul is going to kick the crap out of people who do the same thing day in, day out. Because when you get under pressure, you're going to fall back to your training. Well, if you've tried a lot of different things, you've adjusted your body in a lot of different ways, you're going to be able to handle that load and handle that stress. And again, mentally have that positive self-talk of, I got this. So yeah, those are some of the concepts that we talk about. And Greg, last thing is, we learn a lot of this from the United States military. Navy SEALs don't do the same thing day after day. The top operators in the military, they do not do the same workouts every day. They use a lot of them, but then they're constantly adjusting and diversifying to have a variety, because the world they live in is wicked. I've watched your water polo matches. Dude, it is unpredictable. It is a wicked environment. It's not the same thing over and over. You get into a pool that's a couple of degrees colder or warmer than you're used to. It's a changing environment. There's a lot of, waves, water, splash, stuff going on. Your men and women, your girls, your guys of your sport have to be able to handle changing environments. So why not go ahead and challenge yourself physically in that way as well?
And at the top, you talked about mind, body, soul. I think the first two people can kind of feel like they have a tangible sense of how do those kind of lead into the last with soul.
Yeah, the thing with the soul is the fact that it's a combination of the two. And you really have got to you got to own your situation. So I got positive self-talk. Awesome. I've laid out my strengths, my weaknesses. Awesome. Now, am I going to be disciplined in life to be someone that's going to live by these values? And I've seen the core values that, Adam Krikorian and some of the women's team have put out there. I've seen the values that the men's national team wants to work with. I've seen that they want to be awesome people, awesome players. I've seen that they then also want to be perfect in performance the best they could, right? So the thing with the soul is, are you going to own it? And it's your life. It's your job as a coach and athlete. Are you going to own it? And what I push you to is you can own it. Even if you have failure, if you take a growth mindset, if you're willing to develop your body in different ways, in your soul, you're going to start to become that power of one that's going to be willing to do anything it takes in order to push yourself towards your goals and try to achieve them. So how you become able to grow in your soul is when you start to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And that's the biggest part. And remember, you need to have that network around you. You need to go grab other people on your journey that are going to help you towards that. And that's where you're going to start to find peace and harmony in your soul, is that it's a we, not me. Is that you're bonding to battle over battling to bond with your teammates. It's that you're wrapping yourself with other positive people to help you achieve, not just in sport, but in life. So to get to the soul of it, you combine that positive self-talk in the mind, you get your network together, you're honest with yourself physically, where you need to be and where you want to get to. You're not afraid to try new things, and you're agile. And if you're willing to be agile, your soul is going to be something that's agile and that people want to be around, and you're going to be giving back to the world because of that positive vibe you put out there. So that's where it comes together, where the rubber meets the road, is when you own it, you're going to be able to drive forward. And what's crazy is you guys have the best network. Like I said, I mean, growing up, I would watch my friends at Wilson and Governor Mifflin that had water polo end up seeing other kids from other countries, other states that play water polo and talking. You guys have a community that other sports don't. I mean, you don't see a lot of football players, that wearing football t-shirts going up to each other and talking football. Like they're kind of tools like that at times, my brother was one of them, you don't. But the water polo people, absolutely, they bond to battle. So I think you guys have a community that can help one another achieve and can really build that soul that drives your sport and your people forward.
People are, I think, totally on board to put the work in if they feel like the results are going to get there, get them, the goal or the win or the title, whatever it might be. I'm just curious if any examples come to mind of athletes you've dealt with or teams in the past where they kind of made that shift and they got the mind, body, and the soul right, and then that changed their results.
So the funnest story I always get to tell is, USA basketball, like, you remember the dream team?
Sure.
Like, we are the best basketball country in the world, and we normally show that. We got a bronze medal way back in the day. Allen Iverson, I'm from outside of Philadelphia, so Allen Iverson was like the thing, man. So Allen Iverson led a team that ended up getting a bronze, and was kind of the laughing stock. It's like, how the heck did Team USA lose and end up having to fight for a bronze? Team USA didn't have core values. They didn't have ways to get all these awesome pro stud players to play together. They didn't have ways to hold each other accountable. The next, cycle, they hired Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K from the Duke Blue Devils, said, come in, we want you to fix the ship. And he laid out his core values that everyone was going to have to adhere to. He would pull this old school John Wooden thing. John Wooden, coach at UCLA in basketball. He'd make some of the players line up behind the baseline, and they couldn't walk onto the court for practice unless they said, I will be coach today. And then they could step on. So literally lining up the LeBrons, the Carmelo Anthonys, the other big names in basketball who have to literally say, I will be coach today before they walk on. But they went from failure to going back to world dominance so quickly because they allowed those core values and that we mentality to come back to what they need to do. And they embraced as individuals the team concept of what it takes to win an international basketball. And that gap in international basketball has closed. You look at what we've done in women's water polo, internationally. I mean, Serbia and anything else that ends in an IA country that ends in an IA seem to be awesome at water polo and kick a lot of butt. Them, the Brazilians, others, like, they're really good. We closed a gap and went ahead because we started using core values and a system of we in order to make that next step and then, sustain our success. So, that's an example in basketball where we did something unthinkable and lost and got a bronze and have come back and won, back to back, gold medals because the best were willing to be coached and to willing to become one with those core values and embrace this kind of mindset that says we're going to own it and do what it takes to be successful.
Yeah, it's a great story. That 04 team, I remember they were kind of struggling to recruit guys to be on that team. And then for 08, the culture had changed so much that people were kind of campaigning to get onto it. There's a great story, I think, in Coach K's book about Michael Redd coming back to a hotel just for what he thought, for what the coaches thought was kind of a casual meeting. And he says, wait right here, he goes to change into a full suit just so he could look his most presentable to try and make the best impression. That's how far the culture had changed in 4 years.
Yeah. And that culture, I'll tell you what, I mean, other sports that have worked on their culture have started to quickly see that adjustment in the results. But the funny thing is, you know, the coaches who I work with on a daily basis, they're a part of that culture. The athletes are the ones who drive that culture. And you'll notice this, I mean, anyone that's listening in, you know, you're going to have those athletes that when they are pumped up, they lead, everyone follows. And you have those athletes that when they're down and they're not bought in, they can pull the whole team apart. The key is, especially coming out of a COVID situation where we've all been in lockdown and, you know, we're all coming at this from a different space. We've got a bond to rise everybody up. And if somebody's having a bad day, we all take that initiative to jump on and pull them up so our culture doesn't suffer. And you can't just rely on the coach to do it. You can't just rely on the athletes. We've got to be a connected group that closes that gap. I mean, when you think about it, the difference between first and second in that image I showed you was nothing, you know? So it's the same thing in life. If we want to be successful in life, we got to bond a battle, pull together to make everybody grow. And the athletes are much a part of that as the coaches.
Chris, really, really good, informative stuff here. Before we let you go, any other final thoughts you want athletes, coaches to be thinking about here during this time?
Yeah. The one thing I've been telling people most recently is let's not fall back into the way we've always done things. Let's evolve and challenge ourselves to drive forward in a way that's super innovative, super creative. And let's embrace some of the things that we found. I mean, like I said, most of our coaches were overcoaching the first month or two of COVID, using Zoom and just wanting to be connected. And then we started to find this space where we could catch up real quick for 15, 20 minutes virtually. I could send you workouts and trust you're doing. As an athlete, you could trust it's okay for me to ask questions and follow up. So that ability to trust at distance is a big thing I think we need to embrace moving forward. The next thing is, dude, there's nothing better about this distance that showed us, like, it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to try to get on the same page with communication. We've all gotten better at trying to convey our information when all you can see is my Italian hands moving around and my mouth moving, but you can't see my body language. So speaking up and asking for help, speaking up and asking, what do you mean in that situation? Or saying, how can I get better? Are all things that I love if we all embraced moving forward. It's going to make sport in America better, make our athletes better, make our coaches better. So that's a big thing. Let's not fall back to the way we always did it. Let's grab some of the things we learned, especially around communication, and use it to drive us forward.
Excellent. Important stuff here. Hopefully coaches, athletes that are joining us now, or it'll be available on demand on our Facebook and YouTube pages. You can go back and take some of these important thoughts from Chris and use them going forward. Chris Snyder, Director of Coaching Education, USOPC. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Greg. Go forth, be brilliant. Thanks a ton, man.